Okay, we're on lesson 28, the future passive. And we remember from what we've studied last week that the future tense is like the aorist. The middle and passive have different forms. The other tenses, the middle and passive, have the same form. The reason that they have different forms is the aorist has different form, and then all of your future was built off the aorist form, basic form of the aorist. We'll see that in just a few minutes. Matthew 5:19 in the Sermon on the Mount, Hutos, Megos, Bethesatai, Ente, Basileia, Ton, Uranon. And Hutos is that one. It's a pronoun, and it's that one, whereas Ekainos is this one. So one of them is far, and one's a distant, and one's a remote, a close object. But right here, that one shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Right? That's future tense, and we'll see it in just a minute. This future passive, this verb right here that I'll highlight right now is future passive. Right? Now, heaven is here in the plural. Most of the time in both Hebrew and Greek, the word heaven is in the plural. And sometimes it's not. I think there's some significance to that. I haven't figured it out just yet.
I don't know if it's my connection or what, but if you're saying something, I'm not able to hear you anymore. Might check the mute settings.
See the, oh, no, it's on now.
Now I can hear you.
All right.
All right. Remember, it was doing this one time before. We never could figure out what the problem was, though. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Let me go back through this. Did you hear me read the text of Matthew 5:19? Did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The future passive is a late formation in Greek, and it's made from the aorist passive. And the aorist middle and passive have different forms. So that means the future will have different forms. So putting together the aorist and the future, you'll have more than half of your verbs. The middle and passive will have different forms. Okay. The other tenses will have the same form, the middle and passive, and it's a context of question as to what you're talking about. It becomes a matter of context. Present tense, the imperfect, the perfect, and the pluperfect. All of them have a middle and passive that are the same form. Okay. Now we're going to take luo right here, and our basic root is lu, lambda, epsilon, right there. And then the rest of that is the ending that we'd have for the future. I, first person singular, future indicative passive. I shall be loosed. The future sign is a sigma, right? And it may have an omicron or an epsilon are used with the primary middle passive endings. All right. It tells what will be done by someone in the future. Now let's look at it here. I want you to notice there are no infinitives. Remember, in imperfect, we didn't have an infinitive either. The infinitive is doesn't have time in it. The time is derived from the context. So what we have here is when we have the aorist, it has an infinitive, and the kind of action that we have with the future is undefined. The context does tell you. It doesn't tell you what kind of action it is. The present tense is durative action, and the aorist is somewhat undefined too, but it normally.
You're starting to get you zoned out again. Not hearing you. I hear some static now, though.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Somebody vacuuming over there or something?
It's what now?
Somebody vacuuming over there?
No, it's coming through the system. We're not doing it here.
Okay. I mean, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. So we have the endings here, and what we have the first aorist passive stems will automatically take the first future passive conjugation. The first aorist has a theta in it, remember? See the theta right there. So that theta there is indicative of first aorist. But now in this case, of course, we would have an augment over here for the aorist. And so we have the ending here would be that theta tells you it's first future passive. So the first aorist will conform to the first future because they're built on the same stem. I shall be loosed, and luthesomai, luthese, and notice he held a subscript on the eta, you shall be loosed, and luthesetai, he shall be loosed. Okay. Luthesomai, somatha, luthesomatha, we shall be loosed. Luthesestai, you shall be loosed. Luthesomtai, they shall be loosed. And again, the endings are just about what you expect from the aorist, but we don't have an augment on it. Now, we have a second future, and just like with the aorist, first and second aorist are just different forms, but the aorist still has the same meaning in both of them. So it's not in change in meaning, it's just change in form. Right here, the second future passive, the stems from the second aorist passive conjugation also take the second future passive conjugation. And the difference between the first and second future passive is the theta. The two are the same in meaning. Okay. So again, it's only a difference in form. Right. We have thopto, and thopto here is this word, I bury. It's second aorist. It's a second aorist, and it's here's a thopthon, and second aorist passive is a thopthane. I was buried, and it would be as follows. Now here's the conjugation of it in the future. Now the problem is our root is top, but here's the root of it from the sources now, and it's irregular in the aorist and future passive. This verb is. So it has a little bit different form. It changes its form, okay? Unfortunately, we don't have this word very much in the New Testament, but it is there a few times, right? And so, I shall be buried, taphe soma, taphesomai, taphese, taphesestai, taphesomatha, taphesestai, taphesestai, taphesontai. These are your conjugations of them. I shall be buried, you shall be buried, he shall be buried. We shall be buried, you shall be buried, they shall be buried. Again, there is no infinitive because infinitive, the aorist infinitive will cover the same thing that this infinitive would cover. Right? So now I'm going to get out of this just in a minute, get over into another file just for a minute. All right. I've got the wrong file. I don't know why it's giving me that file. We gotta get it, maybe give me the right file this time. Well, I'm sorry. For some reason, it's giving me the wrong file. I don't want this file here. I want this file here. There it is. I was clicking on the wrong file. Here's the overview of the infinitive. And you have a present, first aorist, second aorist, and a perfect infinitive. That's the only infinitives you have. So we don't have any infinitives for any other forms. The perfect infinitive will cover the pluperfect and the future perfect. And the aorist infinitive will cover, first and second aorist infinitive will cover the future. And the present infinitive will cover the same thing as the imperfect infinitive. Okay, it'll do the work of an imperfect, right? Now, right here, here's your aorist passive, future passive form right here, right there. So I don't have the second future in here, okay? But this is the first future, right? So this is on that table that I gave him. I need to add another column on this thing. I don't think I have it down here. Maybe I do. I may have it on here, but there's Luo right here. That's in this file that I gave you. Right? So you have that file. There you are. We're back now. Okay. What we have this form, and you have the file that I sent you for students, information for students file, and I think I sent you the corrected copy. I had found a couple of mistakes in this lesson here, and I corrected the mistakes we found last week. Right? We have an impersonal verb, and this is kind of an impersonal form, and it's kai egeneto. Kai egeneto. And it's an idiom, it's a peculiarity of the language. I'll leave this over here because I watch it there, Benjamin, and see if it's muting you for some reason. Okay. The usual construction followed by kai egeneto is a clause consistent with infinitive with an accusative reference. And we go back to that very early in our book. or a clause with a finite verb followed by a redundant chi. Chi is repeated. We have an example of this in Luke 16:22. Egeneto day, and then we have apo thenein, there's your infinitive, tone, protokon. It came to pass that the poor man died. And so chi egeneto, sometimes the chi won't be there, but with the infinitive, it came to pass to die, that he died. That's how we translate it in English. That's out of Luke 16:22. And that's the account of the rich man and Lazarus. I don't think it's a parable, but that's another question. We won't worry about it right now. Chi egeneto day chi. And so right here we have chi egeneto, and then we have chi again repeated. And it came to pass on one of the days, chi egeneto, and it came to pass in one mia. That's a feminine form of the word for one. And of course, the word day is feminine. They may be wrong. Chi autos, he did that stay. And frequently there'll be a new on the end of it right there. Some of your manuscripts may have a new there. Okay. It came to pass in one of those days, and he himself was teaching. He was teaching. Okay. So he was teaching. So we have chi, and we may have a day in there, but we don't have it in this verse, Luke 5:17. Now, here's another one, chi egeneto. It came to pass, and it came to pass, chi egeneto meta hemeros, trace, and that's a rupri, huron, auton, in, to, he, rupri, hero. Luke 2:46 came to pass after 3 days. Trace is 3. 3 days they found him in the temple. I think the word tray is used in some languages for 3, and it's almost derived from the Greek word trace for 3. Any questions or comments there? What is the Spanish word for 3?
Trace, I think.
Trace?
It's Trace.
Trace. Okay. They no doubt picked it up from Greek. Greek is a much older language than Spanish. Okay. Right. That's what I thought it was. All right. Now we come down to our vocabulary. We have some words here that will help us here. Dokeo is I think or I seem. It may be I deem, D-E-E-M. And so I consider this to be the case. That we can make it impersonal, okay, and that's the same word, and it seems. And so it's that third person singular, it seems. It seems good, it seems whatever, right? It's an impersonal form. A phonon, I was seen, I appear. And if this is phino, it's manifested, it's clear. And so it's second aorist passive. I was seen, I appeared. I appeared. Egarethesomai. I shall be raised. That's future passive, egaro. And so that's I arise, egaro, and I shall be raised. Right? Asakuo, and so this is preposition ace, and then the verb akuo, where I put the cursor. And that's the hear into, say, or hear toward, I listen to. So I'm attuning my hearing towards something or directing it at something. And eklektos, and this is a an adjective, and what we have here, eklektos, this had an error in, I believe there was an error in this at the printing that you had. I'm not sure, I can't remember, I think there was right here. But this is the ending for a feminine, this is masculine, feminine, neuter endings of that adjective, choice or approved or elect. Right? And so right here, use theos, immediately or speedily. The os ending is an adverb of manner ending, like our ly in English. And so immediately or speedily. Right? Rough breathing, heiko, I have come or I am present. Right?
Eutheos, is that used for Jesus's return?
What now? Which one?
To come quickly?
Erchomai is usually used for that. This is a little bit different word. I am present. I come. I have come. Erchomai is our normal word for coming. Poruomai is also used to journey. So a journey or to erchomai is to come or to go, depending on the context. Okay. So I don't know how often this word is found. We could look that up. I'll try to remember to do that for next week.
Well, what I was asking about is eutheos. The returning of Christ is to be done quickly or speedily?
That probably is that word, yes.
As opposed to, I know some say come soon, as opposed to speedily.
Yeah. Come quickly. I think that's the word that's used. We'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the word that's used. Okay. Helios, notice the rough read, helios, and probably the word helium comes around. I'm pretty sure it does, the English word helium, the element, helium. The sun has a lot of helium in it. Okay. All right. Then we have koloboo, 4 syllables, koloboo. I cut off or I shortened. Right? Kopto is to beat. And in the middle is to bewail. And some of those people in the Mideast still do this. When they're mourning, they'll beat themselves. Some of the Muslims, particularly the Shiites, they take whips and whip themselves with it. Okay, so I think that's pretty strange myself, but that's just me. Parthenos. This one I corrected it from what you had last week, and it's a virgin, and it is a common gender, and that's not in your book. Common gender is not listed in the book. I don't think that way, but anyhow, in the original book it was listed as common gender. But what we have here, parthenos, is the u ending is genitive. And so it's a noun. Well, it's actually an adjective. We have, what's a noun? The noun, and there's gender ending. There's your article, masculine article, and your feminine article. So it can be either, the word God, for instance, can be either masculine or feminine. And of course, in the context of the true God, it's always spoken of with the masculine gender. There'll be an article with it or something to that effect to tell us that it's the true God, okay? And it'll always be a masculine article when it's referring to the true God. But theos is a common gender among the Greeks, at least. Polologia, and polus is many, logia is words or speaking, much speaking. And of course, Jesus did speak of some that have the long prayers and think they're heard for much because they're much speaking. I think this is the word that's found there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, back on Parthenos. Is that the same in 1 Corinthians 7, where I've just seen interchange of the word virgin and daughter or something, I think?
Virgin is Parthenos, yes. Daughter would be a different word.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I think the word virgin there in that passage you're talking about probably is just the feminine gender Parthenos. Okay, and so they interpret it to be with an article, so you know it's feminine. I think that's right. I have to go back and look at it. But that's about verse 36 of chapter
In context,
7.
it talks about somebody being in control, like a father, so I think that's why they put it as daughter instead of.
Daughter is probably in italics in the King James American Standard Version, I'm guessing. But I think it's around verse 36 of 1 Corinthians 7. Right. Any other questions? Good question. Right. Much speaking, they think they have to have a long, wordy prayer because God has to be, you have to do a lot of speaking to get him to listen. I go back to Elijah in the contest of Mount Carmel. They cut themselves and hollered and screamed and went about for hours for some period of time. And of course, Baal didn't hear him because Baal is not God. He's just a piece of wood or stone, or metal. So, but Elijah just had to pray, and it happened. Okay. Scandalizo. I caused to stumble. And our word scandal comes from this. So he caused someone to stumble. Scotizo, I am darkened. Okay. All right. Synagogue. And I gather together. The synagogue is synagogue or the place of gathering. I think in the book of James, the meeting house of the church is called a synagogue. Right? Right? And so it would not be wrong to call it a synagogue. It would be confusing to most people, though.
They respect a building.
Yes, just a place of assemble. The church is not the building. The church is the people. Of course, we all know that. Okay. Pseudo prophetes, and that is pseudo is a false. So I'll put the cursor in here. Pseudo right there, and I'll move pseudo, and then prophetes is prophet, one who speaks for another. And so pseudo is false, and it's an adjective describing the nature of the prophet. And it's not necessarily saying he's prophesying false things, but he is a false person. Now, he will prophesy false things because he's a false person, but it's describing his character. He's a lying, deceitful person, lying, deceitful prophet. That's what it's telling you about it. Okay, so the adjective describing. Now, also, when you go to 2 Peter 2, false teacher, it's the same pseudo, and it's a lying, deceitful teacher, one that's not truthful. Okay. Any question there? False prophet. Okay. Fulake. Fulake. So he said fulake. Fulake. That's a watch or a guard or prison. And so right here, this is to watch or guard something you presently possess. And we are told, and the verb form of that word would be used for guarding something. Hupomone, and that's the preposition hupo, and then the mone is to abide. And so that's to abide under. See, hupo is under. Our word hypo or hypodermic, so hypodermic. And hypodermic is under the skin, hypodermic needle. So hypomone is to abide under, so you endure under something. You've got a burden and you're just bearing it up and continuing the merit. And so there's two words. There's patience and steadfastness. And if you have the notes, I have the file called grammar, Greek grammar, and grammar and lexicon and grammar notes. That file, if you go to this word, you'll see that there's a synonym that goes with it. But one of them has to do with people, the other has to do with things. Right? Pote, when. It's an adverb when. All right. Any questions? All right. Now, whenever we come back to it, let's take our exercises. We're not going to go into this. I'm going to let you do this for next week. But it's slightly modified.
Yeah.
And that's from Matthew 24.
It's not just slightly.
And he modified it for the simple reason that he wanted to put some future tense stuff into there for us, and yet we are picking up a lot of passages or stuff. It's from the text of the Bible, and some of the words are not in our vocabulary yet. So that's what he's done. I don't think he's done anything wrong in doing that. We're just trying to learn to translate the Bible. That's our.
And some of them I couldn't find in months, so it really messed me up, especially down below.
Well, there's one or two that have a letter or two that's wrong. I've corrected them.
Well, that may be the problem.
Okay. So that may be a problem. I can print those out for you later when we're in class later. Okay, Jerry. All right. Let me get over into this other file right now. I want to go back into it, another file, and we'll go into it. Oh, no. I don't have the file available. I'm sorry. I have to go back to this. Don't have the file loaded. All right. I didn't upload it. We'll have to go back to this. Let me do this. Let's do this for next week. And I think I'm going down here and make corrections on some of these. There's a letter that was missing. I think this epsilon was missing. There have been some things missing. I might have not found all the errors in it, but I did send you the file. Okay, so did everyone get the file that I sent? Updated file.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I didn't know it.
All right. So, anyhow, all right. Any questions you have there, Benjamin?
I don't think so for now.
Well, why don't we stop right here, and we'll start with the translation of text A next week. All right.
Maybe Bobby can be in then too.
Hopefully, Bobby can be in there and work with it. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm glad to hear that Bobby is back. And,
Me too.
and so we want to kind of remember to pray for him. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the file, and we'll get out of it. All right. Let me share that first. All right. All right. I'm going to get out of it, quit recording.